What's
All right, we're live.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to Semrush or SEMrush, depending on where you are in the world. Our live podcast around Amazon listing and brand protection. My name's Dan Saunders. I'll be your host for this evening. I'm going to hand you over to these three outstandingly intelligent gentlemen. I've only been speaking to two of them for the last 10 minutes, and already I'm pretty sure there's nothing about Amazon brand listing and protection that these guys don't know. So let me introduce you first, our speaker, Mike. Hand over to you, Mike.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mike Bagg. I'm one of the co-founders of AMZ Advisors, and I'm our chief strategist, and I focus a lot on helping our clients make the most out of their Amazon platform. We do everything from content creation to advertising management to marketing strategy on the Amazon platform, and we really provide a full service to all of our clients.
Awesome. And just a heads up to everybody, I've seen this presentation before. Your minds are about to be blown. TJ, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm happy to. First, it's great to be amongst you guys. These guys are the thought leaders of the entire universe when it comes to Amazon sales. I just know my little piece of the river really, really well. We help Amazon sellers with account suspensions and listing suspensions and private label brand protection. And if Amazon is stealing your inventory and not giving you back your money, we help with that as well. But in terms of like selling more and that kind of stuff, these guys are the best by far.
And last but by no means least, our other Mike, who's in probably the best office I've seen the entirety of lockdown. Mike, take it away.
It's still getting stuff. I was telling these guys, I just moved in here. It's our new house and not fully set up yet, but got some knickknacks back there to help with the sound, with the echo. My name is Mike Jackness. I run a blog and a podcast called ecomcrew.com. I've met a couple of these guys speaking around the world at various times. I'm usually talking about marketing stuff and how to drive traffic, but these guys asked me to come in and fill a gap a little bit about listing protection. I've been selling on Amazon since 2015. We're a multi-7-figure, almost 8-figure seller. And so we know our fair share in the trenches about listing protection and what happens with that stuff. So I have some personal anecdotes to talk about, but we got our start in e-commerce in 2014 or 2012 with treadmill.com, and been doing it ever since. And it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that, Mike. I really appreciate it. And as I said before, my name is Dan Saunders. I'm head of performance marketing at a company called Ingenuity Digital. More importantly, I've been selling my own products and other people's products on Amazon since sort of 2012. I started off with iPhone chargers. Now I go up to anything between running trainers, sheds. It's the most ridiculous thing I'm trying to think of the most ridiculous thing anyone's ever asked me to sell on Amazon, but that's a story for another time, guys. Wherever you are in the world, please give us a shout out. Let us know where you are. I've just seen that someone is online from Mongolia. So if anyone can beat that, if someone can beat that in terms of distance, we will give you a shout out. Don't be afraid to put up any questions. There is no such thing as a stupid question when it comes to Amazon protection and brand listing. It is a very complicated issue. And like I said, we need to make sure we have the right guys on from that. So all questions, I will try my best to get through. And if we can't get through them all today, I'll make sure that there's platforms for us to get in contact with these gentlemen. If there's no other questions at all, Mike, I'd like to hand over to you to talk about Amazon listings and brand protection.
Fantastic. Let me just share my screen with everybody. And I believe we are live. So again, as we're going to be talking today about listing and brand protection on Amazon. So let's just get into it a little bit more. I gave myself a brief introduction before, but a little bit more about me. I've been in Amazon e-commerce for about 7 years. Originally started selling my own products on Amazon, eventually grew into the agency with my two partners. And I'm also a partner in a software company that does predictive analytics for e-commerce brands. So I've got my hands on a lot of different aspects of e-commerce and particularly Amazon. And just so you understand what my main business is, it's AMZ Advisors. We manage Amazon accounts for brands and sellers on the platform. We do about $5 million in ad spend a year. And since we started in 2015, we've done over $300 million in sales on the platform. We've worked with clients of literally all sizes, from one-man operations to Fortune 50 companies, some of the biggest brands out there that you know. And we're also a partner of the Amazon advertising program. Now that you understand a little bit more about me and about my company, let's talk about two important aspects, and that's listing and brand protection on the platform. And we're going to start with the listing side. And there's a lot of different things on Amazon that can happen to your listings that you might not even expect. And one of the first ones is keyword restrictions. So if you use the wrong keyword in your listing, you can have other issues with your listing. Amazon can suppress your listing. You might get IP, intellectual property notices that you violated by using a brand name within your listing. Amazon will shut down that if you're using it within your listing. So you should always avoid including competitor names if you're trying to make sure that your listings don't ever get affected on the platform. Another thing you really need to be careful with is including keywords within your product that can trigger things like the pesticides flag. So for example, in the past, we've had clients that have been selling products that were antimicrobial or antibacterial. And by including either one of those keywords within their listing, it triggered a flag that actually suppressed their listing. And the only way that they could get it reinstated was by submitting a ton of documentation showing what types of materials were within their product. They had to take a course. So it's really something you want to avoid because it can be quite timely to get through the entire pesticides thing. And similarly, there's also an adult category restriction. So if you have keywords or search terms within your listing that are potentially inappropriate or relate to, let's say, adult sexual products, things like that, there's a good chance that Amazon will flag your product as an adult product, which means that your visibility on the platform is pretty much zero. You have to go to a special section of Amazon to find the adult products. So having that happen to your listing is pretty terrible. Beyond the keyword restrictions, other things that can happen to your listing is a category or an approval restriction. So one example that we talk about here is grocery products. And there's two very common keywords that a lot of grocery companies are using, and that's gluten-free and organic. And if your product has either of those keywords on the front end, you better hope that you actually have the documentation from your manufacturer to back that up. If your product is flagged, your product is taken down for a organic claim or a gluten-free claim, you're going to need to submit the actual process documentation from your manufacturer showing that everything is organic, showing that it doesn't contain gluten. And it can sometimes be a problem to track that down. So if you're not sure if your product's gluten-free or organic, it's probably better to stay away from those keywords to avoid having your listing restricted in that way. Another common one is the beauty and health category. So beauty and health is a restricted category. But if you're selling health supplement products like proteins, sometimes your products may fall into the grocery category. Other times they may fall into the beauty category. And it's very common that the categories can get changed on you by Amazon without your awareness. So if you're, for example, selling in grocery a protein product, you may not need an approval to sell it, but all of a sudden if it gets switched over to health, your listing can get shut down because you don't have the necessary approvals. It's really important to make sure that you understand the threats to your listing between the categories that they could be in, and trying to be proactive in getting those restrictions or getting those approvals ahead of time so you don't run into those issues. Another common one, similar to pesticides, is getting a hazmat or a safety restriction, which is where Amazon will require you to submit documentation on the materials or the chemicals or something within the product that originally triggered the hazmat restriction. And if there is no hazmat restriction, you actually need to submit a document called the, what's it called? You need to submit a document to claim that there are no hazmat issues within your product, and then you can get that resolved to get your listing live again.
I think you're talking about the MSDS, Material Safety Data
that's
Sheet.
it.
Yep.
That's exactly it. I blanked on the name for a second.
No worries.
Other common issues that you can run into are hijackers, which is where a lister or an unauthorized seller can start selling on your listing. And this can create issues with your buy box, trying to maintain it, trying to win it, and that can cause other issues that we'll talk about on the next slide. And finally, the last issue is duplicate listings. So sellers can actually get on to Amazon, list your product. They may use a fake UPC code, which Amazon's slowly working on, or they may use another way to list your product separately from the real listing that you're currently selling on. And that can really cost your brand, and it can be confusing to customers to understand what the real product is. And that's an opportunity for other competitors to come in and actually steal that customer from you. And then all that work you've done to acquire that customer over time is pretty much out the window because now they're going with a different brand. When you're losing the buy box, another common issue you can run into on your listing is that the content on the front end can change, and whoever is winning the buy box can change that content. Amazon can change the content if they're selling on the 1P side, and Amazon's not going to enforce what the brand registered owner's content is all the time. So if something in the content on the listing doesn't meet Amazon's brand guide, or Amazon doesn't think it's accurate enough, they will actually change the listing. Or if a third-party seller changes it, it can be very difficult to get the listing back to the way it was. So really staying on top of everything and trying to protect your entire Amazon sales channel is going to be very important. And we're going to go more into the steps that you can do to actually protect your sales channel and take action against preventing this from happening in the future. The main issue when the content changes is that it can have a significant impact on your SEO. So keywords that you may have been indexed on the content that you added to your listing, you may become de-indexed if someone changes the content and you don't change it back quick enough, or you don't realize what's actually going on. And that can have a knock-on effect and actually impact how your advertising is doing. And when your advertising stops performing as well, your conversion rates drop and your SEO ranking is decreasing. It's going to create a negative feedback loop, and it's going to continually make your product less visibly organically on the platform. That's going to cause a huge problem for your sales. And the one thing we always recommend is that once you add your content to a listing, it's always good to keep a record of what the content was before. So saving this content offline. What did you have before? What are you putting on now? What were the bullet points, descriptions, titles? Make sure you have that saved in like a Word document or an Excel file, so you can always go back to it in the future if you need. What categories, subcategories were you in? Because those can be changed as well, and that can affect your visibility. And then finally, what other product details did your listing have that other sellers may get rid of if they win the buy box and change the content? On the brand protection side, there's a lot of other issues that you can run into. And I know CJ is kind of the expert over here, but we're going to talk about it a little bit more here. The first thing that you need to consider when you're trying to protect your brand on Amazon and in general is that you need to have intellectual property for your product. And the most common forms of intellectual property that you'll see on Amazon are trademarks and copyrights. So to be a member of the Amazon brand registry, you need to have a trademark that is either a basic word mark or an image mark. And that is the type of trademark you can have on the Amazon platform and what they'll help you protect. And then what a copyright is for is you can use copyrights to protect the imagery that you're using on your product listing to ensure that other sellers aren't selling it. And it can be common. I've actually seen it before where other third-party sellers will create a duplicate listing or a knockoff product or a very similar product to what we have. They'll steal our content imagery and put it on their listing. And if you don't have it copyrighted, it's going to be very hard to fight that. You may be able to get Amazon to take it down, or if you do some test buys and do some other things to check out the issues, you may be able to resolve the content issues. But this is a pretty common practice, particularly for foreign sellers. I mean, I don't know how many times I've gone on Alibaba looking for products, and I've seen images that I've done for my clients showing up on the manufacturer listings on Alibaba. So it's pretty common, and it's a good way to protect yourself on Amazon by actually having the copyrights you need. The brand registry program will give you tools that can help protect your brand on the platform, but there's a few requirements that you need to be able to get brand registry. The first one, of course, is the trademark, which is what I said. You need the basic word mark or the image mark to help protect your listing and to get registered into the program. But you also need a website where you can include your product. You can include all the information there. It's for sale so that other people can buy it for the platform. And then Amazon can go to that website and check it. This is going to be very helpful in the future if you need to get a content change, because Amazon will ask for proof that this is the correct content. And if you have the right content on your website, you can send Amazon to there, and that'll make it more likely that you'll be able to get your content changed back in the future. The other requirement you're going to need is an email, and the email needs to be at the domain of the website to avoid issues with the brand registry process. We've gone through it before with other clients that haven't used the email or haven't used an email that has the at domain of their website. And that can cause the brand registry application to be rejected, or it can cause delays to actually get everything approved within the platform. But the great thing is, once you have been approved, you get access to a lot of different brand protection tools in the platform and a lot of different programs. The first one being Amazon Transparency, which allows you to put QR codes on your product. And that's one way to help guarantee that your product is authentic. Sellers can scan the QR codes to exactly where it came from. They know that it's a real product and they don't have to worry about that. It also allows you to easily identify fake products on the platform if the product does not have a transparency QR code. And that can make it easier to protect your listings and protect your brand. Another great tool from Amazon has been Project Zero. And Project Zero was rolled out, I believe, earlier this year to help Amazon sellers protect their listings better. And what Project Zero does is it created some automations to go through the Amazon platform and help remove duplicate listings or remove intellectual property violations automatically. But it also gave you the ability to do image searches. So if you have your own product images or your logo that are trademark protected, you can upload it and then it'll scan the Amazon platform to find listings that's using this. You can verify that whether that is correct use, whether it's your listing, whether you're allowing them to use that content on their listing. And you can also submit your own violations through the Project Zero tool in Brand Registry and help resolve intellectual property issues quicker and make sure that your brand is well represented on the Amazon platform. Outside of Amazon, there's a few other things you can do. One of them would be a MAP or a minimum advertised price plan with your distributors. And within an MAP, what you're saying is that your distributors cannot list your product online below a certain price, but you can also specify what channels they're able to sell on. So if you don't want competition on the Amazon platform, one good thing to include in your MAP is to say that you're the only one that is authorized to use the Amazon platform as a sales channel. So any other third-party sellers on there, are not going to be authorized resellers. So you'll actually be able to hopefully protect your brand better that way. And another great tool you can use in part with minimum advertised pricing is product serialization. So by serializing your product or including product serial numbers on each item, you're able to track exactly where that inventory is going. So you know that X amount of units, numbers 1 to 500 went to this distributor. And then if you do a test buy online and you buy it from an unauthorized reseller, you can see what the serial number is and then track it back to exactly what distributor sold it to that unauthorized reseller. And then you can take whatever actions you've laid out in your MAP program to help protect your brand on the Amazon channel. One other thing that I've seen in the past, but honestly I'm not as familiar with anymore, is using non-transferable product warranties to protect your products and protect your listings on Amazon. So what this means is that you can create a product warranty to protect your brand or protect your product, and that warranty is only transferable to your distributor. So if your distributor is selling the product direct to consumer, that is fine, the warranty is there. But if they're selling it on to a reseller and then the reseller is selling it, that warranty is voided. And by having a non-transferable product warranty in the past, you were able to report that to Amazon and report the unauthorized reseller and actually get them to be unable to list the product as new. They'll have to list it in used or in a like new condition or some other condition on the platform. And that was one good way to protect your listing using non-transferable warranties. So now that we've talked about the threats to your listing and brand, let's talk about some of the different actions you can take. And the first thing you should consider using is third-party software. There's a lot of programs out there that can help track what's going on in your product listing. You can see as new reviews are coming on, you can be notified when content is changed. So this can help you rectify the issues quicker and stay on top of what's going on with your listings. Alternatively, if you don't have that big of a catalog, you can check your listings daily or a few times a day to make sure that nothing's changed on the listing. This is obviously a little bit more time consuming and it's not ideal, but it's another way to make sure that everything on your listing is showing correctly. Utilizing listing merges or identifying duplicate listings on the platform and then submitting cases to Amazon to merge the two listings into one is another good way to protect your brand on the platform and protect your listings to make sure that no one's confused from what the real product is. This is a good way to just make everything look cleaner on the Amazon platform as well. And then similarly, another type of technique you can use is a variation merge. So in a variation merge, I'll use the example of apparel. If you have 10 different color shirts, you can list all 10 of those shirts on one listing. So if the content is changed on one listing, the visibility may not be expected as much because all the other listings should still be indexed, and then you can go back and change the content on that one listing and fix what you need to. So it's a good way to protect your SEO and not get hurt as much if someone does manage to win the buy box and change the content on your listing. Finally, some of the brand protection strategies that you can consider using for your listing, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this more soon, is the intellectual property side, making sure that you have your image, your word or image trademark that you can use to get brand registry, that you can use within the Project Zero tool to make sure that no one is knocking off your brand on the platform or misrepresenting your brand. Alternatively, if you know someone is an unauthorized reseller on your listing, you can try issuing a cease and desist letter, which sometimes works. It's to varying degrees of success. And I know, again, I'm sure CJ deals with this a ton. But dealing with sending a cease and desist can be one way to get an unauthorized reseller off the platform. You can also do MAP enforcement, which is restricting your channels, making sure that only certain distributors are allowed to sell on Amazon, or no one's allowed to sell on Amazon except for you direct to customer. Product serialization, so tracking exactly what products are serialized, where the inventory is going through an MAP program, as well as being ready, making it easily identifiable if someone is knocking off your product if it doesn't have a product serial number. And then finally, making sure you're doing test buys if you see a knockoff or a bootleg of your product, identifying what the product differences are, and then submitting them to Amazon through the brand registry tool will be the best way that you can actually protect your listings and protect your brand on Amazon. So we've talked a lot about what the listing threats and what the brand threats and how you can protect against those are on Amazon. I'm sure we're going to talk a lot more now with the experts, with Michael and CJ and Dan. So we're excited to go into that. But if you want to learn more or get in touch with us, you can always reach out directly to me at mike@amzadvisors.com or directly at our website, amzadvisors.com/contact us, or at our Calendly link, which is available here. So with that, I'm pretty much done with my presentation. I'm sure CJ and Michael or Mike have a lot to talk about when it comes to this as well. So I'm interested to see what their opinions are on brand protection and listing protection on the Amazon platform.
Oh, thank you very much, Mike. I really appreciate that. Did everyone believe me when I said your minds were going to be blown? Because I'm trying to take notes here and catch up with everybody's questions at the same time. So you'll forgive me for being a little bit far behind on this one. CJ, do you want to jump in here first?
Yeah, I'm happy to. First of all, that was a great presentation and a ton of information that is like dead on. So when it comes to brand protection, okay, the first thing is really developing your IP rights, which is getting your trademark filed. And we don't do it anymore for sellers because Amazon created the IP Accelerator program, where if you don't have your mark yet, you use one of Amazon's lawyers. They're in bed with Amazon, and they'll do the application for you. And you'll get brand registry within like a week or two, rather than taking 9 months to get the approval. So doesn't matter if they're in bed with Amazon, they'll get you the mark. They will get you into brand registry. The software monitoring of it, I think, is vital. I don't care if you have 1 listing or 5 listings. Set yourself up for success, okay? You're putting your heart and your soul into your business. Use software monitoring. We have a killer software solution. We have an entire private label brand protection department headed by one of my partners, Rob Siegel, who's amazing. But you got to have software to do it, or else you'll end up stepping on your own feet when you're scaling your business. In terms of stopping other sellers by the cease and desist letters that Mike was talking about, they have generally an over 60% success rate of getting sellers to amicably stop selling your products. Why? Like, why is that good? One, I don't believe in needlessly putting anybody out of business. And every time you make a complaint, that's what you're doing. And number two, any seller out there, okay, large or small, can totally hurt you, okay? They can have their friends, relatives, Facebook, whatever, buy products, break them, return them, drive your ODR rate through the roof, leave you garbage reviews. So when you could amicably resolve an issue, that's the way you want to do it. And it's fast, it's easy, it's cheap, and it's very, very effective. And then you only want to make complaints when you really have solid grounds, okay? I can't tell you how many times a day I speak with sellers who receive letters from this law firm called Voorhees that asserts tons and tons of nonsense claims against sellers, and their brands get hurt, and they put their brands at risk of getting sued. Don't ever make a fake counterfeit complaint, even though it's really easy to do on the platform. Only make complaints for sellers who you know are selling counterfeit products, or they're not delivering what you can deliver, because it can harm your brand and it also needlessly harm sellers. But for the brand protection, those are the steps. Develop IP, monitor, cease and desist, and then only make valid complaints when they're absolutely necessary.
Sorry, guys, I've got a dog barking in the background and a 6-month-old crying. So I nearly had that moment where I started speaking while I was on mute. Quote to 2020. Mike, have you got anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, as I said before, I'm more of kind of like the marketing guy, but from being in the trenches, I can just give a few things to talk about here. First of all, with this stuff, if you're selling on Amazon, all of this stuff is a matter of if, not when. Like, if you sell long enough on Amazon, you're going to have these types of things happen. And I remember the first time I had one of these types of things happening, your initial gut reaction is like, this isn't fair. It's not my fault. And you want to just like reach out and latch out and kind of strangle the other person because, whether it's your listing or Amazon complaining about like news sold as used or whatever it is, like none of that matters. You should try to get the emotions out of it and just work towards getting the thing resolved as quickly as possible. Again, all of these issues that we're talking about here are all a matter of when, not if. And unfortunately, multiple times a year, we're dealing with these types of things, and it sucks. But I think that you're signing up for certain things when you sell on Amazon, and this is one of them. And you got to kind of just know your place in the world. The other thing you guys both mentioned, just to kind of reiterate, software monitoring. I mean, there's tons of tools out there. I don't endorse any particular one, but we're at a point again where we're doing high 7 figures. We have a team of 16 people. There was a time when we had a full-time person doing nothing but this. Now they spend a half an hour to 40 minutes a day or whatever looking through this. It'll alert you of everything. Images changing, running out of stock, another seller hopping on, any other changes to the listing. There's a whole slew of things that it'll let you know about. And so instead of just wasting a bunch of your time every day going through and doing this, I recommend even if you only have one listing from day one, trying to find some software that's cheap. Some of them are. Most of them actually scale. You can get something for like $9 a month, and it's worth your time. One other thing, Mike was going through a great presentation of all these different gotchas in terms of things that can get your listing shut down. We sell some products that are FDA registered. Amazon's really going crazy about that right now. So if you sell anything that's FDA registered, make sure that the FDA logo or their name is no longer on your listing. Unfortunately, we had a couple of our listings shut down for several days because we had FDA on there, which is interesting because Amazon's own website, like under their terms, say that you can use that FDA in certain ways. We were compliant with that, and again, one of these it's not fair, this is BS type of things. Writing back to Amazon and saying that is going to get you nowhere. And so instead of trying to go down that path, we just removed it and moved on with our lives because I already knew where that was going to go, and we're losing thousands of dollars a day. Not being able to sell these products. The last thing I just want to talk about real quick is just another personal story. We used to sell a brand called Colorit, Colorit. It's probably the thing I'm most famous for talking on the speaking circuit about. We sold that brand last year. And one of my favorite things about that brand and those types of products, and we're looking for those types of things again in the future, is they're very IP protectable. If I can say it that way. I don't know if that's a good way to say it, but these are coloring books. So these are all original designs, very immediately copyrighted by the Federal Trademark and Copyright Organization. CJ, help me out with the right
USPTO.
PTO, thank you. I was trying to remember the PTO. But we went through several IP complaint type things with Amazon over the years with all our different brands. And some things we submit complaints and they just ignore us, or they don't do anything about it. But the things that we've had copyright type stuff on, they will shut the thing down within minutes. It seems like minutes, but it's really like within hours, certainly the same day. I mean, it's incredible. Like I can't get them to respond to anything that damn quick, but if it's a copyright complaint, they're really, really quick about it. And of course, as CJ mentioned, our first course of action always is to send a cease and desist. I think that's just good business. You don't want to poke the bear, so to speak. Think about how you would feel if it was in reverse. Maybe this person legitimately doesn't know any better. Maybe maybe they do know what they're doing, but they think they can get away with it. Whatever it is, you want to try to resolve all issues as amicably as possible, and don't go right to the nuclear option. It just, unfortunately, we've had one of these things go to a nuclear option. We sent a cease and desist to someone who copied our gel pens, and we had a copyright on the palette. And so there's thousands of people selling gel pens on Amazon. You can't stop someone from doing that. But we had come up with original color names for all of them and had them printed on the pens. And we had a copyright for the palette. And they copied us. Instead of like taking a few minutes and just putting their own names on the pens, they copied us. And we were forced to protect that because they were selling a lot and they were damaging our brand. So we sent them a cease and desist. Personally, I sent it first. They told me to go pound sand. Then I had my lawyer send it. They responded with their lawyer and told us to go piss off. And so then we filed a complaint with Amazon, and they shut their listing down immediately. Then they had their lawyer file a counter complaint saying that we were still full of crap. And Amazon responded to us saying, if you don't sue them within 7 days, we're going to let the listing go back live. And we had to sue them. I mean, they kept on ratcheting us up and forcing us. And I'm like, look, guys, I'm trying to solve this as amicably as possible. Just take it down and stop selling it. And that's all you got to do. And we can go our separate ways. But they forced us into a nuclear option. But I think that, as CJ mentioned, just try to solve it. That cease and desist letter will cost you $250, $500, versus the lawsuit cost us tens of thousands of dollars.
Stop the presses. Stop the presses, Mike.
$1,000.
First of all, you took the right steps, but you clearly used the wrong firm. Okay.
Nice.
When we're sending out a cease and desist communication, if you want to see a really killer example, look at Jack Daniel's whiskey. They have the world's nicest cease and desist email to protect the quality and all that other stuff. You can literally, or at least we can literally send out cease and desist communications, for like, $20 more or less, because it's not reinventing the wheel. It's using your brand registry. We can send out 1 or 20 basically in the same amount of time because we just do so many. So it's not $500. It's not $1,000.
Amazon sellerslawyer.com, guys.
Yeah.
Go there. It'll save you money.
Okay. So in any event, so you took the right steps, and it is a stepped approach. And sometimes you do have to go nuclear, and don't let any lawyer rush you into court ever. Because when you're going to court, anytime you're paying a lawyer for anything, whether it's me or somebody else, as a business proposition, the money you spend on the lawyer should result in a profit to your business, right? So in order to be worthwhile going to court, you have to be losing, I would say, at least $3,000 to $5,000 a month in profit, not gross revenue, but profit, so that your court spend is less than that. So you're making money on it right out of the box. Okay. And in terms of the cease and desist, what they really should always include is like a polite but firm explanation of what that seller is doing wrong, because the vast majority of sellers are very small, and the vast majority are trying to do the right thing. If they're violating your IP rights, they're not doing it on purpose. They think they can sell a product. They even, for the most part, think they're selling genuine products, even if they turn out to be counterfeit. Most sellers are not trying to sell counterfeits in any way, shape, or form. So that's why our cease and desist letters are so effective. It clearly identifies like why that seller cannot sell the product. Like it doesn't have the warranty that Mike was talking about, or it's counterfeit, or it doesn't have the post-sale customer service or something. Let them know. And you'd be so surprised at how many sellers then call you up and say, oh my God, I didn't realize I can't sell this, or I was doing something wrong. Can we work something out? And that's why the C&Ds have like well over 60% success rate with no damage to your brand, no blowback.
Yeah, that blowback thing is pretty serious. It's actually one of the most scary things about Amazon right now. I mean, like anybody could shut anybody down in a matter of a couple of days with more than one tactic. That's something that's scary. Like there's so many effective tactics. I really, if there's one thing that Amazon should address, it's these types of things, because it's really stressful. It's one of the reasons we decided to sell one of our brands, because I felt like these types of risks were just leaving too much on the table after reinvesting all the money we had into our business over 5 years, just growing. And so we finally decided to sell one of our brands off because of these types of issues. But yeah, I mean, be careful. Like, I mean, again, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. You got to be careful about what the hell comes back at you when someone's pissed off that you've ruined their life and they got nothing better to do with their time except now to have a vendetta against you.
Mike Begg, you had a visceral reaction when that came out of Mike's mouth. So you must have experienced something harsh in this vein.
No, I mean, it's true. There's so many ways for sellers to just do unethical things. There are so many platforms out there like Fiverr, Upwork, where people just leave negative reviews on your product. You can hire as many as you want. And there's so many ways for sellers to actually hurt you more. So like you said, CJ, I mean, the majority of sellers that are doing this, that are reselling, they're small. They're entrepreneurs. They're just trying to make some money on the side, whatever it is. Your real competition are the brands that are building on the platform. That's a whole different scale. They're not going to be trying to knock off your product. I mean, some of them might be trying to give you negative reviews. That's a different story. But I mean, yeah, with the cease and desist, luckily, every time that we've had to use that, I'm pretty sure it's worked. I don't think we've ever had to take anyone to court for any of our clients or anything. I think maybe once. But yeah, I mean, the cease and desist, that's a huge tool for being able to get control of your listing back.
Hey, Mike, you talked about map agreements.
Yeah.
And I got like pages and pages of notes already, because I learned from you guys. Every time we talk, I'm like jotting down notes, and I learn a ton. If anyone's using map agreements, we started adding a provision in the map agreement that has your authorized people responsible if their inventory gets diverted someplace else. Back in like, it's either 06 or 07, United States Supreme Court said that map agreements are unenforceable unless you either signed it or it's like some type of life-saving device, right? So what happens? You sell to an authorized person, they sign the agreement, and they give it to their brother to sell online. Their brother's not bound to it. But you can add to your map agreement some teeth that say if your inventory ends up online, you're going to be responsible for the brand protection costs. And if you can track it, that's all the better. If you can't, at least it puts some teeth in it to show that, hey, you mean business. You are authorized to sell at your brick and mortar store. Don't sell it to your brother on Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. Anytime you're going to start like a distributor relationship with anyone, it's really a good idea to just get that agreement in place and have, like you said, some teeth in it. I mean, at the very least, if you can't do the product serialization, because that is expensive to do, to add a product serial number to every single piece of inventory. But it's going to get you the best results at the same time on the map side. But yeah, I mean, just having something in there that's enforceable, that actually gives you, I guess, some kind of protection or some way to get some financial compensation out of it. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to do that at the beginning of every distributor agreement.
Another thing that's being really successfully used for the private label brands and the brand owners, large and small, is to have your own Amazon specific packaging. Amazon loves it because it's like, oh my God, an extra add-on for Amazon. So Bezos could, be even wealthier, buy another spaceship, right? It also protects you from like your brick and mortar guys selling your products on Amazon, because Amazon has the special packaging.
Now, guys, I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to cut some of your this amazing insight short, because we have got a ton of questions. So I'm going to start with the first one from Arit in India. He's asking, what is better, paid traffic or organic traffic? Now, I know it's a little bit off topic for what we were talking about here, so I'm only going to allow one-word answers from this one. Okay, guys? So gun to your head. You can only run Amazon paid or organic. What do you do? CJ, let's go first.
Listen, this really is not my area of expertise, but it seems like organic is better. But these guys, Mike can answer that way better than I can.
Exactly. Yeah, I was hoping from you, man. That's Steve, this is why I love these things, because you get the honest answers. Anybody else, I guarantee, would have BS the way through that and then just handed it off. So Both mics. Whoever wants to jump in here, I just want one-word answers on this one.
There's no way to answer that in one word. Organic's great because it's free, but organic's not going to get you growth over time on Amazon. So you need the paid side.
Mike, would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, long-term organic. I mean, we shoot for 2/3 organic, 1/3 paid. We feel like that's a healthy listing, and if we can do more organic, all the better. But you can't survive on all paid, and you can't get organic without doing some paid. So it's a tough question.
This is how you know these guys actually know what they're talking about, because if they'd have picked one-word answers, you'd know that this was not the real deal. This is what this is Amazon.
That was a setup. That was as quick as I could answer it, though. With
no, that was brilliant, guys. This is I will always do stuff like this just to test people know what we're talking about, and that's why I could feel comfortable doing it with you guys, because I know you know what you're talking about. You always need to do both, in my opinion. They go hand in hand. They feed each other. So yeah, 100%. That's from my opinion. That's from our other experts as well. Kit would like to know where they can find a mentor for PLR and how much it will cost.
I'm punting that decision. Talk to Mike and Mike.
Yep. Yeah. Cool. I just stop and think about that one myself. So yeah, let's go to the mics. Let's see what we see here.
I mean, a mentor or a coach, I don't know any particular people out there doing that. I know there are a lot of people there, but I mean, there's a ton of resources to learn online for free. And there's also a lot of paid courses where you can kind of learn everything. We have our own thing that we're rolling out, and a lot of other companies are in that space. I mean, in my opinion, the best way to do it is just kind of do it yourself and get in there, and then you're going to figure it all out on your own. Every mentor is not going to have the right answer for you. So yeah, it's good to have a coach, but the best way to look is probably just online and some of the Facebook groups and things that are out there for Amazon sellers.
There's a lot of free material out there. I know between the four of us, we publish probably most of it. I can only think of about a handful of people that do it. So from our side of things, the same way that I learned back in 2012 before there was any listings or anything like that, it's test, learn, repeat.
Yep.
You've got to do it like that. You've got to learn for yourself, because you've got to know your own market. You've got to know your customers. And I don't want to give the typical SEO answer. It depends, because that is just the biggest cop out in the world. So if you can't find it online, what you're looking for, you're not getting the growth that you're wanting, feel free to reach out to us. Semrush has tweeted out all our Twitter handles, our LinkedIn handles as well. Feel free to reach out. Both Mike and CJ have got the email addresses. I'll ask everyone at the end the best method to contact as well, if you guys do need some further questions as well. I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep these as minimal as possible, because, like I said, we have got a boatload of questions, guys, which, as you can imagine, with the brain power in that 3 square there is absolutely intense, and we just need to tap every ounce of it. So Calculated Industries wants to know, does brand registry work in the same way for sellers and vendors?
Vendors have a little bit more power, unusually. Like, I consider it a glitch, but it's existed forever, where Amazon vendors can really go somehow through and really screw around with other people's and companies' listings, where brand registry is more of like a toolbox that really helps you protect your brand sales. But I don't know why Amazon lets Amazon vendors just wreak havoc on listings, but they do, or it does. It's a big giant it.
Yeah, that's something I would agree with. Outside of brand registry, I mean, Amazon, I mentioned it in the presentation, that Amazon doesn't always guarantee that the brand registered owner's content is going to show up there. And if if Amazon has a 1P relationship there and they're selling the product, their content, whatever it is that's being submitted through Vendor Central or that their catalog team's coming up with, is going to show up. There's nothing you can do about that. So
I think the hierarchy is Jeff Bezos, and then below that Vendor Central. That's what it feels like sometimes when you try to get something reverse that Vendor Central did.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, it's the easiest way to do this is when you look at what Amazon is as a whole. When you strip everything back, Amazon is about selling. Are you going to make Amazon money? And that's how I deal with all my ranking factors for Amazon. Is this going to make Amazon money? And then yes, no, maybe. Then that's how you deal with the ranking factors as well. So yeah, I hope that helped answer your question. We've got another one here about brand registry. It's actually quite a complicated one. It's an interesting one for myself as well, because I've dealt a lot with the healthcare profession in terms of Amazon and items that normally in the UK would be fine to sell, but in the States there's different laws, different registries as well, because you guys are you guys, you know what you're doing. So Lynn would like to know, I have a brand registry with vitamin D3K2, magnesium, and digestive tea. I optimize my listings and my PPC campaigns often, but I only get around 5 to 10 units sold a day. Have you guys got any advice around this? Mike, I think this goes into a lot of what you were saying about the keywords and being targeted and having those red flags on there, because I know when I've done certain vitamins and supplements, different components have been those red flags for me.
Yeah, I mean, the supplement category in general is really difficult. And whenever we come across a client that is in supplements, it's always going to be a challenge. Primarily what I would start looking at is just your keywords and your bids, because I'm assuming the bids are really high. I mean, some products I've seen, like in health supplements, like protein, like $25 a click or more. So yeah, it could just be that you're bidding too low. Another idea that you could try to start getting a little bit more traffic is using some product targeting on other products that are in that, that vitamin space, whatever the components are, and that you have some product differentiation, whether it's you have more reviews or you have a lower price point or something. You might be able to start stealing more sales through product targeting on the sponsored display or the sponsored product side.
Can I jump in and throw a couple suggestions real quick at that? One of the things that we've really noticed is sending outside traffic helps a lot, especially with these ultra competitive niches. And we advocate doing this in a white hat way. I mean, there's a lot of black hat things you can do, which I am very against, because I think that black hat stuff is very binary. Like, it works until it doesn't, and when it doesn't, you're out of business. And so I think that's just a bad way to do business. But in a white hat way, I mean, getting your products in the hands of influencers, like on YouTube and stuff like that, that eventually start to send traffic over. But one of the things we've been talking a lot about lately, and we do this with Tactical, we own tactical.com, and we have a brand around that as well. But just working on building a blog that gets organic traffic from Google, and eventually that traffic ends up on Amazon. Amazon really incentivizes you basically for sending outside traffic. And again, if you're doing it in a white hat way like we're doing, it can produce some pretty amazing results. And if you're in a ultra competitive niche like supplements, you better have a strategy to combat all your competitors. And most likely they're doing a bunch of black hat stuff to rank. And unless you're willing to go down that path, then you're going to need to come up with a way to compete with them, because it's ultra cutthroat.
We had the same issue when we were selling iPhone chargers. That is now one of the most competitive terms to try and reach on Amazon at the moment. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I just echo what everyone said so far. Outside sales from coming into Amazon are the best ranking factor that I could ever recommend in this sort of sphere. Just to take that a little bit further, and you will get people that are doing black hat, like we said. It's the world we live in. There's always going to be people that want to try and push it that a little bit, but as Mike said, you will get penalized for it. If you live and die by it, then you're going to die more often than you're going to live.
And I'm stupid. I learned the hard way. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it wasn't on Amazon, but it was before doing e-commerce. I've been an affiliate marketer since 2004, so I have an SEO background, and it took a couple of times of Google de-indexing us, where you're typing your brand and you can't even find anything about you on Google, because they wipe you off the face of the earth. And you go from making mid 5 figures a month to making 0 the next day. It's a pretty brutal reality. And again, it took a couple of times to kind of learn my lesson. And in e-commerce, the stakes are higher, because in affiliate marketing, if that happens, at least all the money you made up to that day is already in the bank. With e-commerce, now you have all your inventory in a warehouse somewhere that you can't sell any other way. You're not going to get rid of it on eBay, because the volume there is not anywhere near the same. And in our case, we have 16 employees as well that are counting on me to make sure that they get a paycheck. And so, we take the high and narrow road of doing things the ultra high white hat way, and ignore all the noise around us, hoping that one day Amazon will do something about it.
We all live in hope.
Right.
Because to be honest, I could talk about this for days with you guys because, like I say, especially with my iPhones at the moment, because that's my own income. It's not a client's or anything like that, and it's obviously always a little closer to the bone when it's your own money. But I digress. Another one from Calculate Industries. In Brand Registry, do we only register our corporate website / brand and then attach the products by name to that brand, or do we also register each product line to brands individually? I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time to download that question because, one, I stumbled halfway through it anyway, so that's going to just eat away at you.
I mean, we have that exact example in our business, and we have like a parent company and multiple brands. And so brand registry is per brand, not your corporate website. And so we have Ice Wraps, Tac9er, and Wild Baby are our 3 brands, and Terran's our parent company. But we have 3 brand registry accounts for each of the brands that we're selling. And if you have one seller account, you can do all that under one seller account, under one login. But we have separate companies, so we've elected to break that out separately now.
Hey, Dan, if I could jump in. As people grow and you start, approaching Mike's area, we have multiple successful lines. There's a trend that we're seeing that's successful where you take all your IP rights and you hold them in one company, call it an IP holding company, and then authorize yourself on your seller's account to then sell. And the reasons why we started recommending this is because if you're the brand and you need to really enforce something on Amazon, it's better for that entity not to have a contract with Amazon because you're not limiting your rights. You can deal with Amazon amicably, or you can deal with them forcefully, like in a court if you need to, where if it's the same company that owns the rights and is selling on Amazon, you're rather limited. You're stuck with arbitration. And also then your seller's account is the one poking the bear. Okay. So as you develop more and more, you may want to think about your overall corporate structure where one company owns the brands and the IP rights and then licenses it to your Amazon seller's account as a different entity, so you're maintaining as much power as you can over your brand to enforce your rights, even against Amazon.
It's an interesting strategy, CJ. I like that.
Yeah, it's getting some serious corporate planning there.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know anything about PPC, and you guys do.
It only costs you $20 to set up with CJ.
Hey,
if
listen,
that
just
only costs cease and desist, I will take that any day of the week. The cease and desist, like you said earlier, that is a big old part of my days these days. So CJ, we definitely need to chat with that later on, because like I say, when you get recommended to somebody, you just added, you just saved me a couple of zeros off my P&L.
When it comes to listen, it's not rocket science. It's just using the people and companies that do the same thing over and over again are not generally also they're the best, but they're also the most efficient, right? So if you came to me for PPC, you'd spend $1 million and I would get nothing accomplished, right? When it comes to C&Ds, this is what we do. So not only are we great, and I'm patting my team on the back, okay, but we're efficient, and everything you do has to have an ROI. You have to have an ROI in mind.
Yeah, 100%. One interesting one, and I'm ashamed to say that I actually don't know the answers to this one. Grace has asked, can I sell on Amazon while stationed in South Africa, and what's the procedure? Now, I've got clients pretty much all over the world, and when I saw that question, I've had to really rack my brains, and not only have I not got any clients out there, but I've actually not even spoken to anybody that's selling in South Africa at the moment. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna have to defer to you.
We definitely have clients who are located in South Africa, and there's a list of countries where there are some limitations. I don't know where South Africa falls on the list. I tend to think that there's no issue selling from there, because I know we've had clients from there, but I don't have the list memorized.
Yeah, I've had clients in South Africa as well, so it's definitely possible to sell on it. The process, I'm sure, is probably maybe different for each country, like CJ's saying, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah, one thing I have found is even when we were registering our first brand in the UK, and then registering one for the US, and then registering for Australia, even the the Seller Central looked completely different to me, and it was it's one of those things when you're not used to it, it can be a little bit of a take back because you think, when we've been doing it as long as we have, you're not expecting to see any surprises. But when I first started selling in the US, it took me back that how much detail I could get on the US center rather than the UK. So it's not an easy procedure sometimes, but from what I can understand and what you guys have said, there are sellers in South Africa. It's just not always a straightforward process going forward.
One of the things that kind of was in the middle of that question was like while stationed in South Africa. So I don't know if this is someone in the military that's kind of traveling the world, but it's going to be more based on like where your company is formed and based, and you can travel anywhere in the world and still sell on Amazon. There might be some IP like if you're in a country that's a high risk zone or something. They might lock your account if you log in from that IP address. So maybe you want to use a VPN, but if you're just traveling or just stationed somewhere temporarily, nothing really changes.
Yeah, definitely. I've got quite a lot of questions, guys, about Amazon SEO and Amazon PPC. I'm personally not going through these right now because I want to make sure we've got the best availability in terms of CJ's time and both Mike's time, because like I say, CJ he's just saved a couple of zeros off my P&L from one comment. So what we will do is make sure that we do get to these questions, but I just want to make sure that the bulk of time that we've got, which is quickly running out, is dedicated to the brand listings and protections. So one question again from Lynn is there a minimum monthly or annual revenue or net profit you need to have before you can be a brand owner to sell with Brand Registry?
No. I don't know of any minimum. You have to have your trademark and the ability to sell, and I don't think there is a minimum for Brand Registry. But I guess I don't know the answer to that.
No, it's just the trademark. You don't have to even have even sold one of those products on Amazon to that point.
Yeah, exactly. Starting from the beginning and getting the trademark done the right way is just going to save you a ton of headaches. You don't need to have any sales, but if you do it from the beginning, have your trademark, get your content uploaded the right way, then your listing's probably going to be, it's going to run into less issues down the road with content changes and third-party sellers taking over the content, things like that.
Hey, and also, if you're out there and you don't have your mark yet, and believe me, I don't necessarily need to put more money into Jeff's pocket, but there's no lawyer who has any experience on Amazon who should be doing your trademark for you. Use IP Accelerator. If anyone says, I'll do it, they're going to cost you 9 months of time. If you don't have your mark yet, don't give the money to me. Don't give it to your local IP lawyer. Use IP Accelerator. It gets you on Brand Registry practically instantaneously.
Awesome. I think we've got time for one more question, guys. As I say, we'll talk about after ways to get in contact with us, and we can more than happy to talk about the Amazon optimization listings and for PPC and SEO, etc. in your CRO. Melissa Torres would like to know, Mike, can you provide recommendations on software monitoring? I spend many hours checking our images, listings, inventory, and levels.
To be fair to CJ, since he has I think you said your partner has some software that does this, and he's here, let's let him recommend his software.
Well, we have a client of ours who I've just gotten to know over many years, and his company is called Map Services, Inc., and he developed his software to monitor map pricing for brands in a particular niche market. And we then use his software customized for us. So that's what we use, but there are other solutions out there. I like people that I trust and services that are good. And that's why we use Map Services Inc. software, although it has been customized to us. So we can do it for you, but look around, see what works best for you. I mean, the last thing I want to do is, sell, what we do some research, see what's going to work best for you. If you want to email me or contact me, I'll give you my honest opinion on what I think is best for you. And you take it from there. But I do appreciate it, Mike, especially since you need better C&Ds.
Is that so? The software is not like publicly available. Those are things that you do for your clients then?
Yes. Yeah. Part of our system is that we've taken this client's or his software that he uses. It's been reconfigured for us, and it's part of our brand protection practice where we have daily reports for all the different ASINs and brands that we're monitoring. Every day, Rob Siegel gets a report of who's selling, which ones are authorized, which ones are unauthorized, which IP rights they're violating, whether they're sort of repeat offenders, or we suspect they are, repeat offenders under new accounts, and also the steps that we've taken. But again, this is not meant to be a sales pitch. Go online, check the forums, do research, contact me and other people, and then make a decision what you want to do. So there are a lot of good solutions out there. We're just the best, but there's a lot of solutions out there.
If you're a smaller seller and maybe aren't quite ready for the level that CJ's talking about, a lot of the common tools out there, like Jungle Scout, for instance, has this built in now, and Helium 10. Yeah. You probably already have a subscription to that, and if you don't, you should, because you should be doing listing research and other types of monitoring and keyword research anyway. Unfortunately, those guys have made some other people that are really good in the industry that did nothing but listing monitoring really mad right now, because they've kind of stepped on their toes. But if you have a subscription to Jungle Scout, it's already built in.
In terms of free tools as well, I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the elephant in the room, the one that Semrush uses.
I did not know that. Sorry.
No, it's not your fault, guys. It's because I use it a lot because I'm cheap. It's not because I'm cheap. No, it's a free tool. It's called Cellularly. I actually started using it for A/B testing as well. So there's a CRO function to it as well. But they've recently added the function to have brand protection, so you'll get notifications about listings, images, etc., etc. So, like I say, I don't get paid by Semrush to say these, but in terms of free tools, like Mike was just saying, if you haven't got a subscription to Helium 10 Jungle Scout, get one. But in the meantime, there's a lot of free tools out there that you can use as well.
Hey, Dad, there's a comment by R-Wing, I don't know how to pronounce his name, about whether you could do something similar for Walmart, Rakuten, eBay, blah, blah. The IP issues, okay, and the map agreements that Mike talked about, and a lot of things that Mike Jackson's talked about are applicable to all the platforms because it's all under the same law. Each kind of has their own twist. Like we talked about DMCA counter notices. We talked about IP complaints, trademark protection, USP, all this other stuff. They all have to function under the same laws and rules, although they're slightly different, but it exists already. You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I said, CJ, I'm going to have to speak to you offline because there's just so much that we don't have in the UK that you've just opened my mind to as well. But guys, I'm really sorry. We're going to have to call it time because we are 5 minutes over, and that is time for us, guys. There are a lot more questions around Amazon SEO, CRO, PPC, which I appreciate. More than happy to give you our contact details. If you're trying to get hold of me, it's dan.saunders@ingenuitydigital.co.uk. Or alternatively, I'm at dansaunders86 on Twitter. That's probably where the best way to get hold of me. Both Mikes, where's the best way to get hold of you for Amazon SEO and PPC?
Yeah, well, easiest way to reach me is directly at my email, mike@amzadvisors.com, or you can go to our website and contact us through there, amzadvisors.com, and we'll be glad to talk to you about any questions you have related to anything Amazon.
Yep, and for me, it's Ecom Crew, ECOMCREW. We have 330 podcast episodes and tons of blog content if you want to hear more about this stuff. If you want to contact me, support@ecomcrew.com, and we're also Ecom Crew on all the socials as well.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching as well.
How do you contact CJ?
Yeah, I think this was a setup. All right, so
giant sign in the background.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
CJ at AmazonSellerLawyer.com.
Oh yeah, it's in the background. Sorry guys. Yeah, that is massive faux pas.
Hey, also, listen, I don't mean to be like obsolete, but
he has a telephone. What the hell was that?
Yeah.
Holy crap! I haven't seen one of those in like 10 years.
Here's our contact info: 8779 seller or email. A lot of things that we do is a lot of interaction. So I have a regular telephone, and it just allows old school to have the back and forth necessary to get the information so we can give you options.
And the Semrush guys have actually just been very kind as to add all our contact details to the landing page for this webinar. So please feel free to go on there because they won't miss anyone out like I did. CJ, massive apologies. But again, guys, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate the insight. I have got pages and pages full of notes that I need to go take away from this as well. So I hope everyone else has got a lot they've been able to take away from it. And please subscribe to the Semrush channel for updates from these guys in particular as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Thanks, guys.